Good day everyone. I am Eric Estrada and I'll be discussing my evaluation framework for social marketing and social mobilization programs. This is in compliance for FMA2 Part 1 in Dev C 208. So this evaluation framework is grounded exclusively in the course textbook titled Communication and Social Marketing by Velasco et al., published by the University of the Philippines Open University in 1999. So as shown in this slide is the framework. It consists of 4 evaluation areas, namely planning and design, implementation and process, outcome and impact, and sustainability and continuity. So these areas mirror the logical flow of the textbook Communication and Social Marketing as described across modules 1 to 13. So in computing the score, each area has a weighted average which is derived from the average of the component ratings based on a 5-point Likert scale multiplied by the assigned weight. Then the overall program effectiveness score is the sum of the weighted average of each areas. The result will range from 0 to 100 with interpretations ranging from ineffective program to a highly effective program. In the succeeding slides, I will be discussing the details of each areas to include the justifications of the assignment weight and the rubrics. So for area number 1, so this area or planning and design. So this area evaluates the quality of program preparation before implementation. It examines whether the social issue, target audience, and all relevant environmental forces were properly analyzed, whether program objectives are SMART and ABCD compliant and formulated in consultation with the intended clientele, whether the social marketing mix was deliberately designed across all its dimensions, and whether communication messages were evidence-based and pre-tested with the intended audience before production. So the justification for the 20% weight that I assigned in this area is that planning is the foundation, not the purpose. The textbook treats objectives formulation as a tool for operationalizing campaign goals, a means, not an end. A well-planned program that produces no behavior change has not achieved development. This area receives 20% because it sets conditions for success but cannot compensate for weak implementation or negligible outcomes. So as shown in this slide are the 5 components under this area, namely situation analysis and environmental forces, audience analysis and engagement, objective quality, social marketing mix, and evidence-based and message pre-testing. In the next column are the indicators in each component, and in the rightmost column is the Likert score. This is the 5-point Likert scale. So we'll move on in the next area, which is implementation and process. So in this area, it assesses how effectively the program is implemented and managed during execution. It examines whether the synchronized component strategies of social mobilization are carried out as planned and whether they reinforce one another. Then media strategy is evaluated for scheduling appropriate tests, not merely exposure volume. Implementation quality in this phase is the strongest available predictor of whether behavior change outcomes will be achieved in area 3. So the justification of the 30% weight that assigned in this area is that process quality predicts outcomes. In module 9, as stated by Valdecanas et al., warns that the 6 SOCMOB component strategies must be synchronized, not implemented in isolation. Then in Module 12 establishes that monitoring during implementation enables adaptive management, allowing the program to correct course before the outcome evaluation. So the 30% weight reflects that what a program does is the clearest evidence of what it will achieve. Then in the next slide, this is the 5 components under this area, namely advocacy and policy engagement, IEC and media strategy, communication organizing and networking, capability building, and component integration and participation. So for area 3, this is outcome and impact. So in this area, it measures the effectiveness of the program in achieving behavioral and social change. It uses the steps to behavior change, or SBC model, which starts from knowledge, approval, intention, practice, and advocacy as its evaluative spine. The 5 stages are assessed as a progression. A program that achieves practice without first building knowledge and approval has achieved behavioral compliance, not the empowerment that social marketing and social mobilization are ultimately designed to produce. So this is the highest weighted area in the framework. So the justification of the 40% weight is that behavior change is the non-negotiable purpose of social marketing and social mobilization. McKee in 1992 defines social marketing specifically as an approach to bring about behavior change. The SBC model establishes that people move through stages from knowledge to sustained behavior, change, and advocacy. So no other area can compensate for failure at this level. The 40% weight reflects this primacy and ensures the framework rewards programs that achieve real development impact. So in the next slide, these are the 5 components in this area, namely knowledge and attitudes change, intention and behavior adoption, advocacy and goal attainment, communication effectiveness, empowerment. Then for the last area, this is area number 4, sustainability and continuity. This area evaluates the program's long-term viability after the initial intervention ends. All 3 components in this area are assessed in the post-intervention period. Community ownership in this phase specifically measures independent community leadership after external support has withdrawn. This is distinct from the empowerment that we mentioned earlier during the in area 3. So the distinction matters because empowerment is a condition created during the program, while sustainability is the result of whether that empowerment was deep enough to persist without continued external support. So the justification of the 10% weight assigned in this area is that sustainability is valued but only partially within the program's control. An example of this is in Module 4's Oplan-Alis disease case, which treat sustainability as the result of effective social mobilization, not a parallel managed process. Local policy environments, funding availability, and community leadership readiness are all shaped by forces beyond any single program. So the 10% weight signals that sustainability matters. So these are the 3 components under area number 4. And these are institutionalization and resources, community ownership and adaptive capacity, and long-term behavior retention. So this ends my presentation of my evaluation framework. Thank you and good day.